Hello there, and welcome to episode 9 of the From a Certain Point of View podcast. I'm Josh,
And I'm Adam.
and once again, we're really excited to be talking Star Wars and our news, reviews, and our points of view back to our kind of normal structure
Yeah,
today, even though
yeah,
we will have a focus on the Rise of Skywalker again.
right.
Um, so, Adam, do we want to start with what we've been doing in Star Wars this week, and I can go ahead and
Yeah,
take it
yeah, kick us
if that's
off, yeah.
cool. Um, so last night I got out of my third viewing of the Rise of Skywalker, and um, if you were listening to our reaction or review, you know that I didn't know how to feel about the movie the first time. But the second time I really loved it, and the third time I loved it again, and loved even more moments from this film, and John Williams' score stuck out even more to me, and I think it's his best work of the sequel trilogy,
I still
in
haven't
my
totally
opinion.
listened to that soundtrack by itself. I need to get on that.
Yeah, I've listened to it several times on my Amazon Music app.
Okay.
So like just driving in the car and stuff like that, I've
Yeah,
probably listened
yeah.
to it through like 3 times, and then seeing the movie a few times too. I'm really absorbing, and I just love what he does with the music in this film,
Mhm.
and the way that he calls back to even certain scenes in the prequels, and then even just what he does with the sequel music, like when it comes to Kylo Ren and turning his kind of dark side theme into more of a light side theme, and the way that he changes the notes in the
Mhm.
music, just to I love all of it. So I think John Williams' score just really makes these movies what they are,
Oh yeah, for
um,
sure, for sure.
and is just such a great element. Um, so aside from Rise of Skywalker, I've been with Clone Wars season, is it 7 coming out in February?
Yeah,
Would it be season 7? Um,
yeah.
and the kind of the conclusion of that. So I started watching Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and I think I'm at the beginning of season 3. Um, so I've been enjoying that,
Okay.
and
Once you get past like
yeah.
season 2, it's gonna start getting into some really cool stuff. So I think you're gonna like. It really gets into some lore after season 2.
Yeah, I've been feeling that. Even the beginning of season 3, we're on Camino, and the clones are like training, and there's some cool stuff with like characters like
Mhm.
Fives and everything. Um
Yeah, you're gonna start
and
getting
then
into some light
yeah.
side, dark side stuff too.
Yeah, so it's definitely getting better. I was a little unsure first couple seasons. It was a little hard to get through, but I'm really loving it now. And and the only other thing in Star Wars that I've been doing is well, I checked out a little bit of The Last Jedi on Disney Plus, because it's available on Disney Plus now,
Yeah, I was actually
also
watching
in
it
in
too,
4K. Hmm.
of my own
And
volition.
yes, yes. And of course, everybody out there listening knows that I love The Last
Yeah,
Jedi,
yeah,
for the most part. I mean, there's Canto Bite I'm not a fan of. We all know that.
yeah.
But yeah, I just was enjoying that, and then playing a little bit more Fallen Order. Again, it takes me longer than most people to beat video games, but I've been
That's
just
okay. Take
savoring
your
that
time.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
enjoying that.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
enjoy it. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
what about you?
There's
What do you got
um,
going on?
I've been I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker at all since last week. I'm kind of on a self-imposed break. Not that I need it. It's just like I don't want to burn myself out, I guess.
No, you don't want to do that.
I mean,
Too much of a good thing.
I did 3 viewings in 3 days. I was
You're
feeling it
you're good.
after. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of Clone Wars. I've actually been reading the visual dictionary. That's one of the things I got for Christmas, and I've been enjoying. I've been really enjoying that. There's a lot of really good tidbits in there, and I don't want to get into a whole lot because there are
Hmm.
spoilers here. I'm still trying to be mindful
Yes.
of spoilers and things like that, especially right up front in the show. But it
Yeah. I'm
does fill
patiently
in.
awaiting the visual dictionary to arrive on my doorstep today, Adam. So I can't
Yeah,
wait to dive into
yeah.
that too.
Yeah, it does fill in a lot of things.
Hmm.
And like I really don't want to call them plot holes because I don't think they are. I think
Right.
it's Star Wars has been notorious for not always answering questions,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
and
I mean,
I think that's what it I think that's what it comes down to. That there has to be some mystery left over, and this doesn't even answer every question that was left over.
Right.
But
But it fills in some of
it
those
fills
gaps
in
that,
some of the gaps.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a person like us who really dives deep into Star Wars and wants to look into every detail and all the lore and everything, I think it's a great companion to the
Yeah.
movie. I've been
Yeah,
hearing a
and
lot
that's
of
what I would
chatter
call it,
online.
as a companion. It's not
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't really like advance a lot of stuff, but it fills in some things. So yeah, a companion's a good word.
Right. Yeah. Because one thing I've been hearing online is people saying, well, the problem with the Rise of Skywalker is you need like books to supplement it, and I don't think that's
No, I
necessarily
don't think so either.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could go in and watch it and just be fine with what is in it and figure out the plot and everything. But I think for those people that really like to dive into it, the story group and Pablo Hidalgo
Mm-hmm.
and all of them do a great job of kind of putting all these things together in canon that's fun to dive into.
Yeah, yeah, and like, we talked about Resistance Reborn, and like I don't think it even ended up being required reading as much as I thought it would be.
No, no, I mean it
The
was again a nice supplement, but
It
did
was a
not
nice
require.
supplement, but
Hmm.
the movie didn't lean on it that heavily at all, to be honest.
No,
So
no.
um, now there is one point I want to make, and we'll do it. I guess we'll do it later in our predictions,
Hmm.
because it's a little spoilery. But
Yeah.
there is one thing I've been thinking about that is, maybe way more beneficial to have read a certain book, Bloodlines in particular. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I thought it was interesting too that I
well,
guess.
how about this? So let's put it this way. Um, The Last Jedi, which I was watching this morning and kind of thinking about it, and that's what kind of got me to, kind of got
Hmm.
me in this frame of mind. Um, when Leia puts out the call for help and she doesn't get an answer,
Hmm.
one of the things that I was thinking about is that the galaxy doesn't trust her anymore, because of what happens in Bloodlines. Her parentage is revealed, she's Darth Vader's daughter,
That's
and
a good point.
she's
And her.
kind of cast out a little bit. She has to leave her political career behind because it's, political career died, and she's not the most trusted person out there right now.
That's a good point. I think we need to remember too that the resistance wasn't really backed by the government or anything like that. I
No,
mean, they
no,
were kind of
yeah, it was like
their
a
own group. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a paramilitary group, more or
Hmm.
less.
Yeah.
But
So that's a good point.
yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about in relation to Bloodlines. That's a pretty important point that is not
Hmm.
conveyed at all in the movies. Um,
And
that
one thing I
Leia's,
thought was really interesting along this thought line here is, and this might be just a very minor spoiler for the Rise of Skywalker, but the Emperor refers to her as the Princess of Alderaan. I thought that was
yeah,
interesting,
yeah, that was
um,
interesting. Yeah,
which is kind of the subtitle of the Leia novel, actually. Um, if you've read that one by Claudia Gray, I haven't yet, but it's
right.
called Leia, Princess of Alderaan. So I thought that was just an interesting um, tie in there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So that is our introduction. Are you and we're going to talk a little bit more about the visual dictionary when we get into our spoiler talk, correct?
Yeah, I think we'll probably throw in a few spoilers here and there.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
what
it'll
I have
probably
in
come
mind
up.
is
Okay.
a certain planet that is confirmed
Okay, cool.
from the
Yeah,
visual dictionary.
gotcha.
Yeah. Well, are you ready to dive into the news for this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Our first article this week comes from IGN.com, and it is talking about Kathleen Kennedy, who said some things about the future of Star Wars, and particularly about the kind of trilogy structure we've had with Star Wars. And she's talking about not necessarily sticking to that structure in the future.
Mm-hmm.
What she says, I think it gives us a more open ended view of storytelling and doesn't lock us into this three-act structure. We're not going to have some finite number and fit it into a box. We're really going to let the story dictate that. And so I think Bob Iger a few days after this
Yeah,
article kind of said,
he
well,
walked it
we could
back a
still
little
have
bit.
some. Uncle Bob was like, you know what, Kathy, we
Yeah,
might
yeah,
still
okay,
have
yeah.
some trilogies. But
And
I
to
think,
be honest,
yeah,
some of the media outlets kind of took that and ran with it. Like, she's not actually
sure,
saying there's not going to be trilogies anymore.
right. So
She's
yeah,
more saying that it's going to be a play it by ear thing.
right. Now, what do you think about this, Adam? Do you think that Star Wars should stick to trilogies or
Like
kind of branch out and be, do something different?
like Kathy said, it depends on the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You start getting into some old Republic stuff or Dawn of the Jedi and Sith.
yeah.
The early days of Force use, that seems something that is kind of more prone to a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you have stories like Rogue One that is very much a one-off story. So
Yeah.
it really depends on the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And um, what came to my mind, actually, I did go back to the Old Republic in thinking about this. And what if the Old Republic became a series of movies instead of a trilogy?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what if you talked about the Jedi origins and the Sith origins, and you had several movies that led up to like this final Jedi and Sith war, so
right,
sort
right.
of like a Marvel type structure. Not that Star Wars isn't Marvel, and I've said that before, and it shouldn't try to emulate that or anything. But it would be interesting if they took that path.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of had movies building up to some final battle or something like that.
Yeah, right, right.
But yeah, I mean, I like the 3 act structure. I like the trilogy, so I don't want to see that go away. But I think you have to be open to what the story is dictating, um, and I'm definitely okay with that. Now, she does go on to say we won't abandon the characters created in the most recent trilogy, and whatever
Yeah,
that means. And
yeah,
since the beginning of this trilogy, it's always been the idea of a handoff, of passing the baton, and to these new characters. And I know we have just ended the Skywalker saga, but the question is, will we see these characters again? Will we see Rey and Finn and Poe again? Personally, I would love to, because I've really grown to love these characters, and I would love to see Rey training Jedi. I'd love to see you know more with Finn and everything, and his possible connection to the Force. So,
yeah.
what about you?
Um, I'm 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 trying not to be hopeful because I don't like if it happens. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Right? Yeah, I don't think it's going to be
So,
soon. Maybe down
and
the
by
line a little
anytime
bit.
soon, I mean like more than 10 years. I just I'm trying not to be hopeful, but yeah, I would like to see them again, and
Yeah.
yeah, not even just on screen. I'm sure that we're gonna get some type of ancillary content like books and comics and maybe games or whatever. Um,
Right.
but that's what I'm hoping for, I guess.
Hmm.
That I can read their story. If I want to be invested in their story, I can. That's
Yeah, definitely.
that's what I'm hoping for, I guess. So.
Right. So yeah, so just some interesting things about the future of Star Wars, because where does it go from here? I mean, how do you how
Yeah,
do you
and
follow how
right.
do you follow up the Skywalker
Yeah, and I don't want that
saga ending?
right, and I don't want to just like I want to explore the past. There's thousands of years to cover in the past.
I really think that's where they should go next, in my opinion.
Right, but I also don't want that to be the main focus.
Right. Hmm.
Or I guess the sole focus. Like it can be the main focus, but I still want some other stories. Like definitely between Jedi and Force Awakens, and then
Yeah.
I want the future too. I want past Rise of
Yeah, there's just
Skywalker
so
as well.
much there's just so much you can do, really, with
Yeah.
Star Wars. And you just hope that they do it right, and have kind of a structure and a plan and
Hmm.
idea for what they want to do, and execute it well. So,
I just want
um,
the floodgates to open at this point. I've been waiting 5 years, and it's like it
uh-huh.
feels like now's the time. Like it feels like now's the time to do that. You know, I feel like some of the other canon materials have kind of struggled with holding back secrets and things.
The limitations, yeah. From that,
And
yeah.
I just, now that we're past that, I'm hoping within the next couple years that stuff just opens up and we just get bombarded with timeline material, you know.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely see some of that and everything. And I guess my only fear going forward is if you make movies that take place after Episode 9, but you don't have these characters, you know, or if you even go to another, let's say you go to another galaxy, because that's one thing that's been brought up. Like there's another galaxy out there to explore. My concern is it going to feel like Star Wars? You know, if it's not connected to, I don't want it to be super connected, because then you run into the problems that some people had with the sequel trilogy. But if it's not at all connected, then is it going to feel like Star Wars? You know, that's my number one concern. Like, how do you do that? How do you strike that balance? So
I would be lukewarm about, no joke there, but I would be lukewarm about exploring a totally different galaxy. Like, so much of Star Wars feels like it does because it's familiar at this point.
Yeah,
you know, these are planets that we know, these are locations that we know, characters that we know in most cases, not all cases. Now, to talk a little bit about like EU stuff, I wouldn't mind if a particular threat came from a different galaxy to threaten ours. That would be cool.
Yeah,
like that. I would dig.
That would be cool. But I would like to keep it in this galaxy as well. So. Yeah.
And I think some of it's been set up for that, because, you know, we start exploring unknown regions, and then we get closer to you know, the edges of the galaxy that way, and the farther we push that way, you don't know what's out there, type of thing. So
yeah, I think there's a lot to explore in the unknown regions even as well. So
yeah, right.
So moving on to our next article, this one comes from Star Wars Newsnet, and we had. And again, this is a spoiler for the Rise of Skywalker. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, maybe skip a couple minutes here. But we're talking about J.J. Abrams confirming what Finn wanted to tell Rey in the Rise of Skywalker, because there's a moment where they're on Pisana and they're in like the sinking sand area, and Finn's about to tell Rey something. Like, Rey, I never told you, and we don't really ever find out. It's kind of teased throughout the movie, and we never really find out what he was going to tell her, which I thought it was interesting that really wasn't addressed in the movie, directly, you know. But it's basically been confirmed that what Finn was going to tell Rey was about him being Force sensitive, and we definitely see that in the film, where he has a feeling, he feels the Force,
right, and
which I love personally.
Yeah, so. I don't mind it at all, and I just want to like annotate that and just say that him being Force sensitive seems to be limited to feelings,
right?
So it's not any type of Force use or anything. It's not that he has, you know, powers or abilities. It's that he has those feelings. Which is something we've seen before in like Chirrut and Maz Kanata even.
Yeah, definitely.
People that can feel that presence or being or energy, and but not necessarily harness it and use it. So. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if trained, I think Finn could expand that ability, in my mind, because, you know, I think the Force is something in my mind, and I could be wrong about this, but in my mind, it's something that maybe not anybody can tap into if you buy into the whole midichlorian thing. But I think the Force is accessible to more people than we think it is, and something anybody can maybe kind of connect to. You don't have to have a lineage or a bloodline, I think, to, you know, to be able to have a Force connection. So.
Yeah, and we'll have to talk about that someday. Like, yeah. I have thoughts about that too.
Right.
I agree with that. But I agree with most of what you said there.
So, so are you ready to take us to our next?
Yeah. So this
news article?
broke on a few different sites, but starting, I want to say Thursday, maybe Wednesday. Rumors started popping up about a Darth Maul TV series that is being developed for Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
A series that would allegedly kind of explore Maul's origins, and I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, my take on that.
Yeah, a large part of me is that I'm kind of done with Maul. He's been in so much stuff, and I think it's just.
I mean, especially if you've watched
to move on.
If you've watched the animated series, then yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. My take on this was it could have explored his origins through flashbacks, but also kind of continuing the plot thread that was left at the end of Solo. With Crimson Dawn and Kira and everything.
Yeah.
Now that is something I'd be somewhat interested in seeing on Disney Plus, is kind of a continuation of Kira's story in Crimson Dawn and kind of the sort of underworld, so to speak, of Star Wars and the criminal underworld and all that. And looking at Darth Maul. So I'd be open to it. It's not something I need. It's not something I'm really asking for.
Yeah, that's
and we do have to keep in mind that this comes from We Got This Covered, which is notorious for reporting false news. So we do have to take it with a grain of salt. But I will say, if they gave us a continuation of that story and they gave us Darth Maul, I'd watch it. I'd be interested. I'd give it a chance. But it's not something that.
For sure. I mean, I'd definitely watch it. It's it's just that it's not something that I. Am really. I kind of feel the same about this as I felt about a possible Boba Fett TV series.
Yeah,
which I'd watch it. It's not something that I really want, I guess. But
right.
So, and then the flip side of this is that I totally recognize that there's a ton of people that would really be into this. If it is something that comes to fruition, I'm happy for them, and I know that
for sure.
I know that they're going to be excited beyond belief for a live action TV series. With this character, and I totally get that. So I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. For me, it's just not something that I really am totally excited for, I guess.
I'm with you on that. I'd actually be far more interested in kind of a Solo sequel on Disney Plus, and not necessarily a movie, maybe a series, Han and Chewie going to Tatooine and starting to work for Jabba, or seeing Lando and how he acquired Cloud City and Lobot and characters like that popping up.
Right.
That's something I'd be really interested in seeing, more so than this. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing something to carry on the story that's the movie Solo introduced.
And the other thing is that they did mention that Ray Park would be back as Maul.
Yeah.
I don't know. So exciting, I guess, if you're into it.
Yeah, and again, just take it with a grain of salt, because we're not sure about this information. So
yeah.
So what else we got in the news, Adam?
It started being leaked prior to Rise of Skywalker release, but it's definitely confirmed now that there is a UHD or 4K Skywalker Saga Blu-ray 4K and digital set, and it's being released in March. Seems to be a Best Buy exclusive right now.
Nice.
And that's going to be $249, which I think is
$249,
a decent price for 27 discs, and they're promising a ton of bonus content. Looks like there's a nice little collector's book or behind the scenes type thing.
Yeah, well, I saw a screenshot on Twitter of there's a payment plan.
Oh yeah, I mean, Best Buy had
$50 a month or something. I might have to opt for the payment plan. I don't know.
I know.
No, I think it is a good price for what you're
Yeah,
getting,
I
and I
mean,
had a
you do the
feeling
math.
that
It's
they
like
might.
that's like less than $10 a disc when you do the
Yeah,
27
yeah,
discs for 250, and then that's not even figuring in digital copies. So
right. Now I had a feeling that they were going to do this based on having the films in 4K on Disney Plus, so I had a
mhm.
feeling this might be coming. Um, you know, streaming is always going to have some limitations in terms of audio and visual quality,
Yeah,
compression stuff. So the
yeah,
disc is
right.
always going to be a little bit better.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you
Um,
want the best
yeah,
quality in
yeah,
something, just look at this set, or look at the
right,
disc or something. Don't just rely on streaming. Um,
right. So yeah,
and
I'm
then
pretty
there's always
excited
a thing
about
to be
that.
said about actually owning the content versus renting it. So
Sure, sure. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm definitely gonna save up some money for that one.
yeah, yeah, same here.
All right. So any other thoughts on the news for this week, Adam, or are we ready to go into our reviews segment of the show?
Yep, let's talk some Mando.
My disappointment in your performance cannot be overstated.
All right, so we are going to do a brief non-spoiler review of the Mandalorian season finale, which aired yesterday on Disney Plus. And Adam, do you have some non-spoiler reactions to this finale? And I'm sure we'll spend more time on next week's episode talking about the Mandalorian season as a whole, and specifically
Yeah,
this episode in detail.
yeah. I loved it. I don't know what else to say beyond that. I mean, it was
Hmm.
a perfect wrap up of this season for me. It ties up a few storylines, but leaves plenty open for next year.
Yeah.
Which we can we didn't cover this in news, but season 2 has been confirmed to be dropping in fall 2020. So we got
Hmm.
about 9 months to wait, which is going to feel like a heck of a long time. But
I think it's better than what I was expecting. Like
oh, really?
I didn't know if we would see season 2 in 2020. I thought maybe
Oh,
we'd
wow.
see it in 2021. But it seems like they're trying to get it out there, which is great. I think if all the seasons come out in the fall of each year, I think that'd be excellent.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
There's
But
just some shows on Netflix and like with Game of Thrones too and stuff like that where you had to wait a little bit longer than a year. So that's why I wasn't sure.
okay,
Um, but I'm glad to see this news,
yeah,
about that.
and I think the one episode a week cadence helps that too.
Yeah,
Especially when you're talking about Netflix, where you have to wait a year plus a lot of times.
right, right, for sure.
Releasing these over 2 months, I think, was beneficial for us as fans, that we don't have to wait that long, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, same. So, I know we're not doing spoilers, but I just like there's an opening scene with stormtroopers that if you haven't watched it yet, it's just
Oh, it's great.
I loved it.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
And one of those
Hilarious.
is a guest appearance by Jason Sudeikis,
Hmm.
which was, I mean, it was just hilarious, and kind of the fan backlash to his role in the whole thing has been fun to watch, and no, like not mad type thing, but
Right.
it's not like a Last Jedi type backlash. That's not what I'm talking about. But just seeing how they've reacted to what his role in that episode was, it's just been a riot to watch.
Yeah.
But we were watching it together last night, you and I and a couple friends, and I was
Hmm.
saying that I could even watch a series with those two guys, with those two stormtroopers, like a buddy series type thing,
Yeah, it
Um,
was great. I mean, it just showcased all the worst and best things about stormtroopers, and it was just very. The comedy was great. The
yeah,
timing was good on everything. So, yeah,
it just kind of puts a human aspect underneath the mask, I guess, and
hmm
it just seems like two just dudes, but they have a job to do, and they're kind of frustrated with their job sometimes, and it's just
yeah,
it was really cool.
Yeah, it was very well written
Yeah.
scene, and especially the comedy of it. And I think that one thing the Mandalorian can do so well with a series versus a movie, um, is just expanding on those characters that we don't normally get to spend a lot of time with.
Yeah, sure.
Those kind of
Yeah.
side characters, stormtroopers, Jawas, those types of characters we can spend a little more time with and get a different angle on them, which I think is the strength of a series.
Yeah, definitely. That's since for the next 3 years, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at for Star Wars content. I'm not upset with that at all. I mean,
no,
gives us, like you said, a big chance to flesh things out and to explore some things a little more in depth. So,
I also enjoyed the episode very much. I felt the end was a little bit abrupt for me. It kind of, and if you haven't seen it yet, you'll know what I mean. I think when you see it, is at the end just felt a little abrupt, and I wasn't sure if this first season was going to be like one contained story, and kind of wrap everything up in one season and then move on to something different in the second. But it seems like this is definitely going to be a continuation. And
right.
There were certainly things that were unanswered that I was kind of expecting to have answers to certain questions that I didn't get, but maybe that's something that we can explore down the line.
I'm expecting a Filoni style slow burn in some of this.
Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode. It was a lot of action, and good action, and a lot of fun, and there's some good villainy in there as well.
Giancarlo Esposito is just
he's fantastic.
Such a great bad guy.
Yeah, and we got a tiny bit more flashback, some story on on the Mando,
right,
and looking at what exactly happened.
So when he was a kid. So some of those short flashback scenes from early in the season are kind of it lets it play out a little bit more this time.
Yeah, we see the whole scene basically of what happened.
Yeah, you basically. So where he's meeting up in the bunker with a B2 droid. You kind of get to see how that plays out, and what leads up to it and what happens after it. So I mean that was nice to get that, but
right. Yeah, so other than what I felt was an abrupt end to the episode and the season, I thought it was really well done. So I'm looking forward to
totally
diving into spoilers next week.
And if you're at all familiar with any of the animated series, you're gonna love the ending. If you haven't,
oh yeah, that part shocked me. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
What happened in the end, and it was
one of those things like you start dealing with this culture, and that's always like a what if thing. Without saying what it is, like it's always like what if they could do something with this in this story?
Yeah,
and apparently they have plans to. So
yeah. So I'm definitely interested to see what happens with that. Particular detail in the second season.
For sure.
All right, so are we ready to go into our points of view segment, Adam?
Yeah, let's do some more Rise of Skywalker.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
All right, so we are going to dive into the Rise of Skywalker and what we got right, what we got wrong, and kind of exploring the unexpected of the Rise of Skywalker. If you listen to our review, one thing that I mentioned was there is some level of predictability with this movie where things that we predicted did come true. But there's also some elements of this movie that surprised me, and shocked me, and that I didn't see coming. So going into our theories going into Rise of Skywalker, one of the theories was that Rey was created from Luke's severed hand by the Emperor. This was incorrect.
Yep.
We actually learned that spoiler warning. Did we give a big spoiler warning?
We did not. So let's.
Okay.
So, this section is going to be filled with spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Rise of Skywalker yet, probably just best to skip this one for now.
Yeah, go see the movie, come back and listen to what we got right and what we got wrong. So yeah, now would be the time to step away. But
Yeah.
we now know that Rey is actually a Palpatine.
Hmm.
She is actually the Emperor's granddaughter. So
Yeah.
any thoughts about that, Adam? Before we move on to our next thing we got right or wrong?
Well, I think as I said last week, like I wasn't thrilled with that idea going in,
Mm-hmm.
and when it happened, I still wasn't so thrilled with it.
Right.
I was kind of prepared for it, I guess, going into the movie that it was a real possibility.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, by the end of it, I loved it, and reading some of JJ's stuff afterwards about how, and it's kind of a comment on what Ryan Johnson was trying to do about how he understands that being from nowhere is a kind of a shocking thing.
Mm-hmm.
But being from the worst possible place to
Yeah.
him was even more terrifying.
Coming
So
from evil and choosing
yeah,
light, is very powerful.
yeah. So I'm actually totally on board with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I wasn't in love with the idea at first, and I still don't know how I feel about it, but I love how it turns out in the end. And we'll get to that a little bit more. Like what she chooses in her very last line of the film is so powerful and brought me to tears 2 out of the 3 times that I saw it. So
Yeah,
I love the
yeah,
resolution of this discovery. And our next theory was that, and we were talking about Dark Ray, either being a Sith clone that Palpatine created or just a vision. And we both kind of leaned toward it being a vision, and that's pretty much what it was.
yeah.
I liked where this vision came. It's in the ruins of the Death Star, and
Right, right.
it's kind of a sort of this
Secret
side room,
room. Yeah,
secret room, next to the Emperor's throne room, which was kind of cool where it happened. I didn't expect that, but we did get it right that it was a vision and not an actual
I'm glad it
person.
wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't a clone.
Yeah, same here. The next theory was that the Skywalker that rises in the title refers to a new Jedi Order that will be called Skywalkers, and this was not correct.
Not correct
At
yet.
least not correct yet.
Yeah,
So I think the Jedi will continue on, and I think that was a smart move. I mean, I think
yeah,
you have to continue the Jedi moniker, and everything. So in my mind, Adam, the Rise of Skywalker has a couple different meanings. Not necessarily referring to a new Jedi Order, but first of all, we have Ben Solo being redeemed, and
yeah, yeah.
he is a Skywalker in a way. He
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
have the
yeah.
Skywalker name, but he is a Skywalker, coming from that bloodline, and he rises in the light. And then we also have Rey, who takes on the Skywalker name and becomes a Skywalker. So, did you have any other thoughts on the title and what it might mean? Those are
Yeah,
my kind
no,
of two.
I thought it was going to be multifaceted, and it was.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm glad the Jedi aren't called Skywalkers. I was not thrilled with that idea.
right.
Renaming Jedi into Skywalkers. I'm okay if it's a Skywalker order or
Hmm.
that type of thing. But I'm glad that was not a real thing.
Right. So, those were the kind of the theories we talked about. That you had also brought up a theory or two in our predictions episode. Um, Anything that you wanted to touch on that came true or did not come true from your point of view?
Um, I mean, I brought up a couple, but they were kind of low level things. Like I was trying to really
Hmm.
not predict too much, so I was
Right.
trying to go in blank as much as I could, and for the most part, I did. The only thing that I would like to touch on here is that I thought that Ben would be redeemed and live,
Hmm. Yes.
and I do still wish that he had lived. And I'll be honest, his death scene seemed a little bit it was a little bit strange for me.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot that happened there at the end that is hard to completely understand what happened. Not only with kind of Palpatine taking their life force of the
Oh
dyad that
yeah, the
was
diet,
created and
right? Yeah,
what
yeah,
and what that all means, but then like what Rey did at the end, causing her to die by destroying the Emperor, and then kind of Ben transferring his life. All that stuff is kind of new to Star Wars and kind of hard to wrap your mind around. And so I
yeah,
can see why
yeah.
his death was a little, hard to take. You know,
But I really
so
would have just liked to see his redemption story play out more fully than it did. Um,
yeah,
I kind of understand the idea of just ending the Skywalker bloodline.
hmm
I really don't love it. I don't agree that it has to die to tell new stories. That's just that for me. That is a crutch, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I think
But
I
I
have a
would have,
slightly
yeah, I would have loved to have seen him go back into the galaxy
hmm
and you know, you know, kind of this attitude that he messed up, but he's going to try to atone for it the rest of his life type of idea.
right.
I would have loved to have seen that be his arc going forward, and but I guess we're not going to get that. So
Yeah, I have a slightly different point of view on this one. Just because I feel like a character like Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, I don't. I mean, I don't know if he could have gone back into that universe and that galaxy and been accepted. I think for the majority of people, the things that he did um, would be kind of irredeemable to, and I don't know if they would let him kind of exist in that world. I could be wrong, but I think him dying made sense for me, and kind of the sacrifice that he made to. I think he knew that Rey would be the person to carry on the Jedi, and he was willing to give himself up for her to do that because she it's kind of her destiny, and I think he realized that.
yeah,
Um,
I would have
so
just
I
liked to have seen that struggle,
yeah
him trying to accomplish that, and whether or not he actually could. Uh, I think that would have made for a strong storytelling device that they could have explored pretty heavily.
sure, yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, it would have been a kind of a different way to end it, other than like would have been different from what Return of the Jedi did.
Right, right.
With Vader and
And
Anakin
but
being
that's
redeemed.
really part of my one. If I have one main complaint about the sequel trilogy as a whole, it's that it really, in so many ways, was a reboot of the OT.
Yeah.
It
Um.
never really broke away from those same storytelling devices as
Mhm.
the original trilogy. And I know that there's the whole thing about the rhyming and
Yeah.
the patterns in Star Wars. I think that's weak,
Yeah.
and I would have liked to have seen something totally new. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but there's a lot of repeated ideas in this that were in Return of the Jedi. One of them
Yeah.
being Ben's redemption and then death.
Mhm.
Um, I just I mentioned this the week before. It would have been a little bit too much for me if that is what happened, and I think it was.
Mhm.
I don't love that part of it. So
Sure, and that's fair, and I think it's just one of those things where I think it was very intentional
yeah, yeah,
when they started making this trilogy that okay, we're going to play off of nostalgia quite a bit, and
yeah,
it's going to be about these these legends, and a new generation, and how do you live in the shadow of those legends, and how do you step up and take the baton and carry it, um and I think even just on a the whole storytelling as a whole, looking at kind of the rhyming and poetry of Star Wars, and I think all of that was very intentional. It's either something that it's something you like or don't like about it. I personally like that about it. I like that it has some of those rhymes and those beats are kind of repeated in a way. History kind of repeats itself and those types of things. So I like that it feels very connected to the original trilogy, because I think a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth after the prequels and wanted it to feel more like the original trilogy. So I think that was very intentional. But I think now, moving past this whole Skywalker saga, I think we're going to see some different forms of storytelling and it not rely so much on the nostalgia.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, for me, it was. I was hoping that reliance would have faded away after The Force Awakens. Like I feel like that was very intentional in The Force Awakens, and I feel like that was a good time to do that. Bring some people back in and use those same beats that made the franchise popular. Like, I get that then. But it never really broke away from that. Like, I think that it can still feel connected, but tell a new story, and I don't think that it always did that in this trilogy.
Yeah, I think it did some new. I think it made some. The Last Jedi in particular made some bold choices and took it in kind of a different direction.
It did a little bit, but I mean, even watching again, like, there's so many things that just feel like a repeat. And I think some of the things that people feel are new aren't as new as they really think they are, I guess.
Sure, I can appreciate that. I think The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker in particular did some kind of new things with the Force, but maybe not new things in the storytelling.
Right.
And like with,
because I'll tell you, like, this idea about Jedi or Force users can come from anywhere, that's not really new.
Right.
There hasn't always been a reliance on a bloodline. One of the ideas that was in the original trilogy is that the Force was strong in a particular family, and that's great. I mean, it can be, but then also the prequels have said these Force users can literally come from anywhere,
right?
And they're bringing in the children and they're training them from wherever they can find them across the galaxy. And Anakin came from a slave.
Sure.
Anakin was a slave. I mean,
right.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't really think that idea is new, but I think some of the other things that happen with the Force is what I'm referring to.
Some of the things that happen with the Force, yeah, sure, like
kind of like Force projection, the connection that
that
Kylo
wasn't really
and
totally
Rey
new
have,
either. Yeah, that dyad thing's definitely new, but even
I'm saying new in canon.
Well,
you know what I mean, like new to the official canon was.
The projection was. I'd have to look that up because that was in one of those.
It's in like one of those Jedi
text,
Jedi books, or something like that.
Which I believe those are canon.
Right,
I
don't know
double
if it's
check
canon
on that
or not, but yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, certainly anybody could say that one of the weaknesses of the sequel trilogy is the reliance on nostalgia and relying on what the original trilogy did.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can argue that point. It's just something that you either like about it or you don't, in my opinion. Yeah. But moving forward and looking at our predictions, we had our Force lightning round questions, and I'd like to go through some of these and see what we got right and what we got wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question was, is Palpatine back in the flesh? And I think we said yes to this. And he was back in the flesh. It didn't seem like he wasn't possessing anybody else's body or
although that is an idea that was covered. So I mean,
could he have been possessing
Snoke?
Could he have been possessing Snoke?
I don't think he
said if Rey struck him down, he would basically possess her. So there, but
I don't think he was possessing Snoke.
I don't think so either. It's possible, but I don't think so. But
Yeah,
but
right.
we were right that he was back in the flesh. Would we see Wicket or any Ewoks?
We did.
We very briefly did.
Mhm.
So yes, we did see that. So the next question was, will Ben Solo be redeemed? And I think it was clear that he was.
Yeah.
And we got that right. So the next question was, will Rey kill Palpatine? I said no to this question.
Did you? I said yes, and you
From a
had
certain point of view,
said
she did, but
yeah, kind of. I mean, you said that Ben would.
I thought Ben would. Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Nathan that was on actually nailed this one that neither of them would. That
Right.
his own power would be
would,
turned against him, and that's what happened.
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Looking at our next question, will Kylo Ren use Force Lightning? I said no. And he did not, but we did get a character. We did get a character other than Palpatine who used Force Lightning, which was a surprise to me. I didn't see this coming. Rey using Force Lightning, which was something that Kylo Ren was kind of trying to get out of her to really see if she was a Palpatine indeed.
Yeah.
And we had the question, will we see a lightsaber ignite that is not blue or red? I said yes to this. Do you remember what you said to this one, Adam?
I believe I said yes also.
Okay. And we did. We saw in a flashback, we saw Luke's green lightsaber.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, we see Rey igniting a yellow saber.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Will Zori Bliss remove her helmet? I said no to this one. And
I think I said yes to this one, and
she put her
visor
visor
up,
yeah. But she didn't really remove her helmet. Will anyone but Rey and Kylo use a lightsaber? I said yes to this.
I said yes as well.
Mm-hmm. And we saw, which was a surprise as well for me. We saw Leia actually using a lightsaber, in Luke in the flashback.
Yeah.
Our next question was, will Luke, Han, and Leia appear on screen together? I said no. I didn't think we were gonna get Han.
Yeah, I said
at all.
no also.
So we were right. We didn't get them on screen together, but all three of them are on screen in this movie.
Yep.
And Han showing up was one of those unexpected surprises for me. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Will Kylo/Ben die? Was the question.
I said no.
And I said yes, and he indeed did die. The next one was, will Hayden Christensen appear in the film?
I said yes.
I said yes. I thought we would see him as a Force ghost.
I thought we would see him,
but we hear him.
Yeah.
We don't see him. So from a certain point of view, he is in the film, but he didn't necessarily appear in the film.
Yeah.
But we hear his voice
right.
talking to Rey at the end.
Yep.
Will Leia appear as a Force ghost? I said yes. I think you said yes too, Adam, right?
Yep.
We both definitely felt that we would see that, and we did. Leia does appear as a Force ghost in this movie.
Yep.
The next question, will we see Naboo?
I was actually doubting. I was actually wondering about that for a long time because
I had my doubts too.
She didn't become one with the Force for a long time in the movie, and
it wasn't until Ben died and joined the Force as well. I think she was waiting.
As well, I was wondering if there was something, if she was waiting, if she was helping, if she was influencing in some way. Yeah.
Yes. Will we see Naboo, Tatooine, Coruscant, or Mustafar? I said no, and I was wrong.
I can't remember what I said.
I think you might have said yes to this one.
Okay. I thought that we might have seen Tatooine, and which we did.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. You thought we would see
Tatooine.
Endor. And we did.
Did you say Endor in that question? Because it might have been Endor.
Endor was not in that.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
But we did see Endor. We saw Tatooine. We saw Mustafar, which we're going to talk about a little bit,
Yep.
and we saw Bespin,
Yep.
but that's not part of the question. But anyway, we did see more planets than I thought we would, just briefly. Will Dark Ray have any lines? I said yes. I think you said no.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But Dark Ray did have a line. She said, "Don't." I think she said, "Don't be afraid of who you are," or something like that. Which was kind of a repeated theme. I think Leia says this to her and means it in one way, and then Dark Ray says it to her and means it kind of in a different way of,
right.
Don't be afraid of being a Palpatine versus don't be afraid of who you truly are. Will Darth Plagueis be seen or mentioned by name? I said no.
I believe I said no.
And he wasn't. There was a question of who would end up with the Falcon at the end, and I said Lando, which was wrong.
I mean...
Did you say Rey?
Yes, I said Rey.
And I think it is Rey who ends up with the Falcon at the end.
Okay, I guess, because she goes to Tatooine on it.
Yeah, she has it on Tatooine. And
okay, I guess.
Yeah. And how many Force ghosts would appear in the film, I think was kind of our final question. And I thought it was going to be a lot. I thought we were going to get like 5. Now we hear a lot of, Force ghosts, but we only see Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of rounds out our Force Lightning questions and predictions, what we got right and what we got wrong. So I guess my final question for you, Adam, is what was unexpected? We predicted some things, we got some things right, but what did you not see coming that happened in this film? What was unexpected for you?
I would say the sheer number of voices we got for Rey at the end.
Yeah, that was a really pleasant surprise. I love that
surprising voices in there as well. Kanan being in there.
Yeah, we hear Ahsoka,
Luminari in there.
We hear Anakin, of course,
Mace
talking
Windu.
about bringing balance to the Force.
Yeah, Mace Windu's in there. It's just I think the sheer number of those characters that actually showed up was probably the most unexpected thing for me.
Right. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I think for me, one thing that was really unexpected that I mentioned earlier was Rey using Force Lightning. I didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't either.
For me, what was really unexpected and ended up being my favorite moment of the film is Han showing up in a memory, appearing to Ben, and just the emotional impact of that scene just gets me every time, and just seeing how it plays out compared to how the scene in The Force Awakens did. When Ben decided to kill his father, and then in this one, how Han helps him to throw his saber away and turn back to the light side. So I just love that moment.
I was not expecting Palpatine to look the way he did.
Yeah.
That was
unexpected.
That was intense sometimes too. Like it was.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Like he still looks dead through most of the movie until he does the Force suck and takes away that life force. He looks terrifying, like scary actually,
Yeah.
Like there was some dark imagery in that for Star Wars. Not that Star Wars hasn't never had dark imagery, but that was pretty intense.
For sure. I think another unexpected thing for me was Rey turning her staff into a lightsaber. I mean, as much as like I wanted that to happen since I saw The Force Awakens, like I didn't think we would get that. So it was kind of a pleasant surprise at the end. And her going back to Tatooine, I think was a pleasant surprise for me. Even though I
was definitely not expecting to see the Skywalker farm anymore. But
right. So I loved that moment. Anything else that was unexpected for you, Adam?
Seeing Leia's saber.
Yeah,
That was a nice little
that
pleasant
was
surprise.
unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't see that coming. I didn't, I love the flashback scene and seeing her training with Luke, and seeing her saber, which is very elegant, which we talked about I think last week. Um, but I love the saber, and seeing that was unexpected for sure.
Yeah, yeah. What about the kiss? Were you expecting the kiss?
It didn't surprise me, is what I'll say.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I was expecting it, but it didn't surprise me. I mean, I know there's been a lot of people who have been shipping Raylo and everything, so you know, I I can see them having a romantic connection. Um,
Yeah.
I would have been okay if they didn't have a romantic connection. Like I could see it going either way.
Right.
Um, where it was just a different kind of connection and not romantic, um, but I was definitely okay with it and
Yeah.
not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds about where I fell on it too, I
Right.
guess.
One thing I was not expecting was to get to see kind of like light side Ben, I'll say, like in action and against the Knights of Ren
Okay. Okay.
with the Skywalker lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was cool. I mean, I had a feeling Ben was gonna be redeemed, but I just didn't know we'd get that it would happen at the point in the film that it happened. It happened, probably like midway,
Yep.
or a little bit after the midway point of the movie,
Yep.
versus just happening at the end. So I was surprised by that.
Yeah. It did happen earlier than I was expecting
Hmm.
also, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So again, even though there were some things we got right and predicted, there were some unexpected, pleasant surprises, and you know, the second and third time I've seen this movie, I've walked away very, very satisfied, very emotional. Just kind of really loving this movie, even though it has its issues and it has its
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
Um, I think the moments that it has in it and the feelings that it gives you, um, I think is I've really, really been loving it. So, any final thoughts that you have on the Rise of Skywalker?
It was. I'll say it again. It was a great ending for me. I was very happy with it. All three times I've seen it. It's for me it just ties up everything perfectly, I think. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that happen at the end, I couldn't imagine it ending in a better way. I thought it was very fitting, and especially Ray going back to Tatooine and how the film ends. I felt was really fitting. So,
Yep. Yep.
all right. So I think that concludes our episode for this week. And Adam, do you wanna get us out of here?
I'm just glad you're here. At the end.
Okay. Thanks for joining us again for episode 9 of From a Certain Point of View. Just our weekly reminder here to check out the Facebook page From a Certain Point of View, the Twitter account, a certain POV pod, POD. Also, remember to check out the website. I know Josh put up a new blog article on there yesterday, Friday.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys to check that out. It
Yeah,
actually
definitely
talks
do that.
about the moments from Rise of Skywalker that brought me to tears. And there's a few moments in there, and
Yep.
there are even more moments that I noticed when I saw it last night, that I just keep loving. So, Star Wars is all about those moments, and I hope you guys check that out.
Yeah, so if you want to read about what makes Josh cry, that's where you need
Doesn't
to go
take
for that.
doesn't take a lot, but this movie got me a few times. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So yeah, make sure you check out the website from a certain point of view.com. And that's all I've got for episode 9, Josh.
Well, remember, and until next time, the Force will be with you.
Always.